how he was able to essentially hypnotize both of them. He fucking loved it. It gave him the confidence to deal with people. Right, in a non-prison setting.
Sure.
Which we're also going to see here too, are the seeds that are planted. That, like, honestly, of all of the people that you can compare Charles Manson to, I would compare him to like Hitler. I would say that it's the same thing because he's got an inferiority. No, I'm not saying on
I'll
scale.
agree with it. No, not on a scale, but as far as personality goes, fairly similar.
He's got an inferiority complex that expresses itself in the way that it did, because it's all about control and power, and nothing is, and because his sexual desires are being satisfied, like when Hitler had like Jewish girls pee all over him. You know,
no,
your
he liked the dump. Yeah,
your grandfather was feeding him Gatorade.
yeah. My granddad was on Gatorade duty. I think that's actually that's where it all began.
Vata boy.
Like many technologies, it started in Germany.
She's getting so parched. I can tell from her urine.
Yeah, Haterade there, classic.
And Charlie, I mean, he fully admits. He said at this time, I was aggressive, adventurous, and felt like I understood the minds of most of the kids that flooded the streets. Like, he knew, it's like, all right, I get these kids, because these kids they're disaffected. They feel like they're rejected by society. They're searching for something. A lot of them are runaways.
Right.
A lot of them have criminal pasts. But he, not long after this relationship, he hooks up with this reverend named Dean Morehouse, who gave him a ride while he was hitchhiking. And this guy, Morehouse, gives Charlie a piano. And Charlie took the piano for a cheap Volkswagen van. And so at this point, the Manson family is mobile. Brunner quits her job, and they start to just drift around California, meeting other women.
I think it would have been cooler if he would have just put tires on the piano. You know, just roll around that. I could see the Manson family living like the Chuck E. Cheese group.
Slowly turns into a Snoopy like thing, where he's like riding the top of it. It's got like a steering wheel.
Now, did anyone learn how to play this damn thing?
Yeah,
we will say that this is, you were right here in your assessment too. It's like this is what made the Manson family, quote unquote, possible.
Yeah,
was this van.
Yeah, it was this is when recruitment could truly begin, because then they had a house, because this little Volkswagen bus was their home for the next about year and a half, until they got a hold of a black school bus. Which is honestly, if you are looking to escape your house in Wisconsin or Minnesota or some rural parts of the South, the idea of rolling around the West Coast inside of a black school bus is fucking awesome. Yeah.
And a van is like, okay, but that's a hell of an upgrade.
Yeah, a van's all right. So they wandered around for a while. They wandered around Southern California. They go down to L.A., where a former prison contact told him that he could set him up with a producer. So Charlie calls up the studio contact.
Just Los Angeles. That's all of Los Angeles. It is. That is like what Los Angeles is as a whole. Of just like a criminal promising you that he has connections to a record producer, and then you show up and a guy with a fucking like jukebox costume on fucking steals your wallet.
Exactly.
Yes, because the studio contact was, quote, out of town for a few days. Yeah, he's out of town. So Charlie just, they wander around L.A., where he meets a young, freckled, red-haired girl named Lynette, a.k.a. Squeaky Fromm.
Now, Lynette Fromm is like literally, Squeaky Fromm is a woman out of time.
Yeah.
She is a woman that it's just like, because we were going to do this a while ago and we never did it, but I also see that too. If she existed and there was like an OkCupid profile of Squeaky Fromm, it would blow up. She would just be exactly what you wanted. You know, like, easygoing girl looking for a good time, just want somebody to stare at the stars with, and and eat my pussy while calling me Jesus.
Right.
Squeaky Fromm.
Oh, yeah. Redheaded, cute, approachable. Squeaky Fromm.
Innocent.
Oh man, I definitely would have sent a message to her on OkCupid. Definitely would have swiped right on the old Tinder.
She would have been thrilled with it, Marcus.
And thank you, Judith, for photoshopping that wonderful photo of me coming to the rescue of Squeaky Fromm, or carrying her out of a courthouse after she made quite a mess in there.
Or
she was not complicit in any of the murders, but in 1975 she did pull a gun on Gerald Ford.
Gerald Ford.
She pulled the gun. The gun didn't go off,
Well, of course not, because it's Gerald Ford. Everything went wrong around that guy. Fell down constantly. The man was a goof.
Yep. And she was sentenced to life in prison for that.
Right, that's what that would do that.
So as a kid, she was a performer in a popular local dance group called the Westchester Lariats. In the
Can you
50s?
imagine being forced to go see the fucking Westchester Lariats on a Sunday? Can you imagine just, all right, let's go see the fucking Lariats again?
I actually think people probably loved it. It's Westchester.
She was on the Lawrence Welk show.
There you go.
She performed at the White House.
Wow.
T for two, and one for me.
God, I love this show.
Just go, take off your shirt.
And here's a really interesting fact that I had no idea about. And this is another interesting thing about the Manson family is that they have a lot of connections at one point in their life to famous people. Squeaky Fromm was friends with Phil Hartman in high school.
Yeah, that was insane.
Yeah.
The late, great Phil Hartman from SNL.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. That story, that ended
Isn't
tragically.
it weird that Squeaky Fromm lived longer than Phil Hartman?
I don't want to, Henry, I don't like the joke, Henry. It's still too soon. Phil Hartman's psycho wife from North Dakota, cocaine fiend. This is why you can't marry someone who also wants to be famous. They get jealous.
Never
of your
marry a
success.
fun person.
Never.
That's the moral of that story.
Yeah.
Do and blow. For a little while, it's a great time staying up all night, banging all the time, and the next thing you know, you want to go to sleep, but she doesn't, and then you die.
Yeah,
and
so she
die
uses
and
the
die.
permanent alarm clock that
That's
wakes
right.
you up into heaven.
The old revolver to God.
And of course, Squeaky, she was not a happy teenager. She worked at a canvas shop where coworkers would see her burn herself with lit cigarettes. She'd shoot staples into her forearms.
I would have been
with a
friends
staple
with her.
gun.
Definitely. I was friends with a girl who did that exact same thing.
Yeah.
I was in love with a girl in junior high school that carved Kurt into her arm. That was like the hottest thing to me. I thought she was so cool.
Like Kurt Loder.
Yeah, like Kurt Loder.
Fucking Loder.
Big MTV News fan.
Big MTV News.
Yeah.
It was actually, it was Kurt Douglas is what she kept saying. And I was like, it's Kirk Douglas. And she's
Yeah,
like,
no, it's Kurt. Yeah.
Though in high school, Squeaky, she started getting rebellious, started taking drugs, drinking a lot. She got into an argument with her father over the definition of a word. And so she packed her bags and left home for the final time.
Lord, what a powder keg. That must have been every dinner.
Yeah.
It was just like,
Right.
oh, what the fuck are we going to argue about tonight?
Yeah. The word was father, and they disagreed with what it took to be a good one.
Yes.
That's sad.
Yeah, that was just sad, Ben, because
Yeah.
that seems like that could be very likely what it actually was.
Yeah, it was probably like,
Yeah.
what does it mean to be a dad? He's like, I've taken care of you. And she's like, you haven't eaten me.
You don't care about me.
You don't
Because
care.
again, a big thing you're going to see, we're going to see as a pattern with all of these women too, is that they that standard like feels out of place. Feels like they don't have a group. Feel like they don't belong.
Of
Feel like they
course.
don't they don't belong to their families. They don't belong to society.
Right.
And Charlie kind of got this ability from prison. They said basically it should have probably came from prison, which is like instant reading of people.
Yeah.
Of being able to like pick out who's vulnerable and put his point of view directly in their heads, and they are ready to like join up with him.
And keep in mind,
'Cause they're lonely.
this is the 60s. We're still in the 60s, maybe early
This is
70s.
1967.
1967. This is well before Ted Danson ran a bar called Cheers. So these people didn't know where to go. They didn't have any other place to be where everyone knew their name.
If only
this was it.
Cheers existed then,
Yep.
Sharon Tate would be making, I don't know, Devil in the Details 3 or something
Oh
bad.
my, Devil in the Details is one of my favorite franchises. That is a great one.
So Squeaky ended up in Venice Beach. She met Manson. Of course, he charmed her. And Squeaky...
God, I would love to see Manson on Venice Beach and Muscle Beach.
Oh, man.
Yeah, look at them. Yeah. They think they're tough. They think they're strong. Huh?
They're not strong. They don't know the strength of the mind, my friend. They don't know the trip that I'm on.
Just stares at the barbell for like 15 minutes trying to raise it. Yeah, not today. Okay.
So she goes on the road, becoming the second member of the Manson family, along with Mary Bruner. Of course, the music contact never got in touch with Charlie, so they go back on the road. And this is the time when Charlie when he's introduced to the concept of commune living, which of course would be put into place with disastrous results later on. And this is also when he started proselytizing to young people about his philosophies. This is when, they were never really solidified all that much. Of course, there was Helter Skelter and the race war and all that type of stuff.
But that was later on.
This is
That
like